Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. And I believe we are on the verge of getting our first big commitment of the John Calipari era in a player that we have talked about quite a bit, okay? So on Sunday night, when John Calipari officially, the report came out, Wes Moore, that John Calipari was going to be the next head coach, we went through the entire recruiting class, and I said there was one player above everybody else that I believed was going to ultimately follow John Calipari to Arkansas. Now, I didn't believe this was the only one, but the name was Kevin Knox, 6'6" wing. And as I've told you a couple times, the background seems to indicate that he is a guy that will follow John Calipari. The question becomes, why is that? Well, the answer is pretty simple, okay? It is because, one, his brother Kevin Knox played for John Calipari, Kentucky. The family has a relationship with him. He just committed to Kentucky about a month ago. So if he was seriously considering other schools, you would think they would have been on the list previously. But his Final Four was Kentucky, Louisville. He's from Tampa, so the University of South Florida, and G League Ignite. Well, G League Ignite has since folded. Louisville has since fired its head coach. And so really there was no option other than Kentucky a few weeks ago. And he was the first player to decommit from Kentucky when John Calipari took the Arkansas job. And so because of it, I believe that we are on the verge of seeing Kevin Knox, a McDonald's All-American, depending on what recruiting service you look at, top 10, top 12, top 15 prospect. I believe we are on the verge of seeing him commit. Now, as of 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central, it has not happened, but I'll tell you this. Producer Matt, pop that tweet up, baby. Pop that tweet up. Did you see Carter Knox? So you can't see my face, and that's okay. Because what you need to do is look at Carter Knox's Instagram. Why is that? It is because at about, I want to say it was probably about 4 p.m. Eastern, I got a tip. I was told, Torres, go look at Carter Knox's Instagram account. Did you see what is in Carter Knox's Twitter account? It says Chicken Man with a chicken emoji. And this is, of course, just days after John Calipari took the Arkansas job with the help of the chicken man himself, John Tyson. Okay? So maybe it means nothing. Producer Matt, thank you for that. You can take that down. Maybe it means absolutely nothing. Maybe he's just hungry. Maybe there was a comment. Maybe there was an accidental comma that was supposed to be there. Maybe he's hungry and he's just saying, chicken, man. I need some chicken, man. But there was no comma, and it can only lead me to say one thing. I believe that Carter Knox, who was committed to Kentucky, a McDonald's All-American at the University of, in high school, but set to commit to Kentucky, did commit to Kentucky, then he decommits. I believe he is set to commit to Arkansas, okay? Listen, it makes too much sense. All the schools that were recruiting him in the end are out. He has a relationship for many years with Calipari and a couple other things. One, first of all, shout out to John Tyson, okay? Because if that means what I think it means, then what that's really saying is a couple things. One, John Tyson got Calipari to Arkansas, but part of how he got Calipari to Arkansas was by promising him every resource imaginable. And it sure seems like the chicken man is ready to put his money where his mouth is and make sure that Carter Knox is taken care of. And so what I will say, again, it's about 6:45 Central Time as I'm talking here live on YouTube. And what I would say is, as of right now, nothing is official. But I believe something will happen in the next 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. And I believe Carter Knox will be the first player to commit to the John Calipari era. We'll talk about him as a player in a second. But something stands out about this process, okay? One thing about John Calipari, Kentucky fans can attest to it. Arkansas fans, you're going to learn. Everything he does is totally thought out. Everything he does, there's a plan and a this and a that. And no player just commits when they feel like committing. There's always a story behind a story behind a story, and we're going to line something up. And my understanding is that John Calipari has basically had this commitment in his back pocket. And I think the plan was to do it 24 hours after the opening press conference. Now, I'm curious because clearly his former boss, who he does not like, Mitch Barnhart, is flailing in the wind. He's clearly enjoying every second of it as Mitch Barnhart is striking out left and right. And so I wonder if he's waiting because he likes to see his former boss flail in the wind, or if there is a reason that this has not happened. But I believe Carter Knox is coming. The chicken man thing, maybe it means nothing, but I don't think it does. And I think he's going to be your first commit. Arkansas fans, if that happens, when that happens, we'll talk about him. Carter Knox is a really good player. 6'6", super athletic. Listen, I don't, his brother was a great shooter at the college level. I don't think he's as good of a shooter, but I think he is an elite scorer. And the one thing that I keep coming back to with John Calipari, and I keep saying it, and I'm sorry for being repetitive. Everybody's complaining about the one and dones and the freshmen, and you can't win in this era. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. He did it this year. Now, he didn't win the ultimate prize, and the NCAA tournament was no doubt disappointing. I'm not going to sit here and because he's a coach somewhere else pretend that the Oakland thing didn't happen. It did. But remember, it was on the back of elite freshmen that John Calipari finished second in the SEC. In the best SEC that ever there was, according to everybody who watches this stuff. Remember, Alabama made the Final Four. Kentucky destroyed them with a team full of freshmen. Tennessee made the Elite Eight. Kentucky beat them in Knoxville. And so to me, the freshman stuff works. And I think if that's where he's comfortable, that's fine. Now, you need to bring in older players. And I'll say this, starting to hear some rumblings that maybe a player or two from Kentucky will follow him. Kentucky fans, I hate to say it, I think you got to get ready for the fact that 2 or 3 guys that you saw in royal blue will be wearing that hog red next year. Now, in terms of the rest of the recruiting class, what I'll tell you is a couple things. One, I'm starting to hear rumblings that Boogie Fland, the 5-star guard who was committed to Kentucky, very well may possibly be following John Calipari to Arkansas as well. I'll be blunt. When John Calipari took the job, Boogie Fland was one that I wasn't sure of. He's a New York City kid. He was going to Kentucky, and I said, is Arkansas the right spot for him? But I talked to some AAU people. The Northeast schools that recruited him, he's from New York City. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I think that St. John's thought they could get involved, and I don't think St. John's feels like they really have a shot right now. Some of the other Northeast schools that thought they had a shot don't feel like they have a shot right now. And if they don't feel like they have a shot, it's probably because of the fact that that they feel like Boogie Fland is going to Arkansas. One thing to note, Orlando Antigua is the elite New York City recruiter out of who was with John Calipari at Kentucky. Tried to confirm that he is going with John Calipari to Arkansas. I have not. If that becomes official, if that relationship with Orlando Antigua is there, I think it makes it more likely. So we will see what happens with that. But Boogie Fland was a guy that I did not think was going with John Calipari to Arkansas. I think he might be now. That's 2 McDonald's All-Americans. The third one, Jaden Quaintance, as we discussed on the Wednesday stream, has asked out of his letter of intent. Yeah, I think he's following John Calipari to Arkansas. Number 1 center in America. He's 16 years old, which means that he still has 2 years of let me put it this way. He's 16 years old. He is not draft eligible for 3 more NBA drafts. So he's not eligible this year, obviously. He's not eligible next year, meaning he's going to have to play 2 years of college basketball. And so we haven't seen any updates with him, but I get the sense that he is going to follow John Calipari to Kentucky. I'll also add Samto Cyril, who decommitted last night on Wednesday night. I think there's a good chance that he follows. He's kind of that Oscar Tshiebwe mold. So I'll be very curious to see what happens there. The final guy, listen, Travis Perry, the Kentucky State Player of the Year. I think he's staying at Kentucky no matter what. But Billy Richmond, we talked about him as well. from Memphis. His dad played for John Calipari at Memphis, was going to go to Kentucky. But if you can go to Arkansas, which is right across the river from Memphis, I think it's hard to say no to that as well. So I think there's a possibility that 5 of the 6 recruits follow John Calipari to Arkansas. That would be unbelievable.